Why you are not getting sufficient results after following some of the PRI program that you found online. So in this video, I would like to cover and explain you and tell you about most of the typical mistakes that I am stumbling across the internet when I'm working with my patients. I even will review a few of the cases, my personal cases with my clients and patients, and how we were able to fix these mistakes, which led to a beautiful outcome. So firstly, before you will learn all of these typical mistakes and pitfalls, you have to realize that there is a huge difference between the way PRI works in a clinical environment and the way PRI works when you're trying to learn it from the YouTube videos. In the first case, there is a clear structure, strict protocol. There is some rules that you should follow and stick to. There are some rules how long you should be practicing this or that specific set of the exercises. The therapist should take care of your blind spots and missing details in the exercises and compensations to make sure you are progressing during the therapy. Now, when you are picking the exercise program, there should not be any coincidence. It should be very much tailored to your specific needs. That's why there are 400 of the exercises. Whereas when you are trying to learn from the YouTube, you are applying bunch of conflicting ideas onto yourself with bunch of random exercises with hope that some of them will help you out eventually. Yet the blind spots will remain the same and untouched. Blind spots regarding whether you have this or that musculature pattern, blind spots regarding missed details during the exercises and techniques. So today I decided to reveal these blind spots and to embrace them through the lens of 4 pillars of successful PRI treatment. And in each of them, you can find a bunch of the mistakes and you can mess up badly. So today, not just you will learn how to avoid these mistakes, but you will realize roadmap of the therapy, each step of the way. Today, based on my patients' cases, you will realize how long does it take to get better, which pitfalls and mistakes led my patient to no results as he was exercising on his own, and how we were able to fix these mistakes together. So firstly, as you can see, these are 4 main pillars of successful PRI therapy. It consists of the evaluation, exercising, habits, and of course, vision, inclusion, and feed. In my professional opinion, the second one is the most important. You cannot bypass this stage of the therapy. You just cannot skip the exercising programming, because otherwise you will never going to reprogram and change your lateral pelvis tilt, your ribcage mispositions, your chronic pain, and whatever postural problems and asymmetries that you have there. And I'm going extensively over it today, but beforehand I will dive into the most important second pillar. I have to analyze just quickly with you the first one, the evaluation process, because most of the time when people are self-evaluating, they are believing that they have vision asymmetries because they quite frankly watch some of the videos about that, or they believe that they have malocclusions and that's why they have disc herniation, which is absolutely, in my humble opinion, nonsense. You just watch too many informations online and you did too much of the pre-assumptions. So before I can give you the exercises, guys, firstly, I have to evaluate you. And here in the first pillar, in the first stage, most of the primitive mistakes are happening because people are just presuming that they have left AC pattern. Oh, if I have lowered right shoulders and elevated right hip, probably I will follow some specific free programs from the online, which consist of 90-90, hip shift, and so on and so forth. So when we are trying to evaluate your problem, we are not seeking for whether you have left AAC, PAC, or BC patterns. These are terms that you have learned from YouTube videos, but in clinical environment, we are seeking for something else. We are seeking of which part of the body has failed to do its fair share job, which part of the body is being knocked out from its original position and causing you directly your pain and discomfort. Here are the terminology you can see, and I'm going through that terminology and I'm using it to apply and to see and to watch onto your posture through the lens of this terminology. So I'm seeking whether you have some form of abdominal midline curvature, abduction knee, feet rotation, pronation, supination, scapular positions like retraction, protraction, and so on and so forth, a specific stage of walking. That's what I'm seeking for. Now look here. There is a gentleman. This is my patient. He is a success story, by the way, and soon enough you will see a YouTube video about his specific case. However, this is his initial video of walking. As you can see, every time when he is stepping on the left leg, he is diving down with his left shoulder, significantly lower than his right shoulder does. Can you see that? It's very noticeable, by the way. Why so? Many of you would assume that he has a right AAC pattern or opposite pattern that I'm describing on my YouTube channel. What is going on in reality is that his ribcage cannot do right side abduction during the left mid stance of walking. Because his ribcage cannot move aside like I'm drawing with the green line, he is compensating with his shoulders, which is dropping down. So because he cannot complete something here with his ribcage, he is compensated that leg with the shoulder, which is dropping down. By the way, on the right side, you can see I'm showing what's supposed to happen with his ribcage. So, by the way, he has pain on the left side. Surprise, surprise. So he has to do a bunch of exercises to create the proper ribcage abduction. Hence, his shoulder will not going to collapse down anymore like this with that great range of motion. So there is no opposite pattern. There is just different kinds of misalignments that we are seeking to find, evaluate, and treat. So in addition to figure it out which part of the body is being knocked out and does not behave like it should, we have to analyze the pain pattern. Where exactly do you have painful areas and muscles? Because quite frankly, not everything that's being misaligned with your posture will cause pain and problems. So for instance, if you have SI joint problem, it's obvious that we have to target the lower body and vice versa. But sometimes we have to add up some additional tests from PRI to clarify how your body moves. So here are the codes of our posture restoration tests. However, it's important. Remember that we are not trying to fix test results, because many times you will see information on the YouTube that after therapy, your tests got better. Yet many times tests are getting better, yet pain remains the same. So we have to remain objective and treat exactly what it is, not tests. So after we have figured out which part of the body is suffering and which part of the body needs our attention, finally we can go over to the second pillar of PRI treatment, which is the therapy and exercising. So as you can clearly see here is an entire structure of your protocol of treatment. PRI pain relief journey from A to Z. It has its starts, it has its finish, and here is the timeline of the therapy, bunch of exercises, tasks. I will go through that right now in a few seconds. However, firstly, let's go and dissect that plan into pieces. So firstly, signs of a good protocol which will help you to relieve your pain. First, exercise program tailored to your walking and your pain pattern. So we already discussed that, but here you will see a bunch of exercises. These are just pure illustrations. It's not a specific treatment protocol. However, here you will have your specific plan of treatment and a bunch of exercises to restore your parts of the body that are lacking of specific ranges of motion, that are painful, and so on and so forth. This is very important. You cannot just download the exercise routine from the internet. Second, realistic timeline of improvements. I will talk about here, and I have two instances of my clients as an example, but usually it takes like 3 decent months before you will see and feel a bunch of changes. 3 months. But sometimes it gets faster, sometimes it gets longer, and we will talk about that in a minute. Now, another one is adjustable via video calls or office visits. In other words, every single time when you are receiving the protocol, In between two protocols, you have to work with your therapist. You have to go to his office and he should show you many times in a row the same type of exercises, so you will polish and clear up all of the mistakes and you will learn the exercise properly. You will not going to nail the exercise from the first attempt. Maybe you will, but you will return back to home and you will do another types of mistakes. So that's why it's very important. Now, another one is constant exercise progression. So the progression table of the exercises serves very simple purpose. We cannot learn our brain how to move differently if we will start straight from the very difficult exercises. It's too challenging. Our brain is not capable of performing these without the compensation. Otherwise, you would be already healthy and without pain. So what we have to do is to decompose our posture into small fragments, and we have to start to exercising these small fragments separately away from each other. Just slowly but surely developing more and more power and strength in each range of motion. Slowly progressing throughout the weeks and months, when finally we can connect these fragments and puzzles into one big unit, which calls walking pattern, or I should say a walking cycle. You should not stick to these basic exercises on the floor for a very long period of time. Like those exercises when you are pressing your feet on the wall and you are activating certain muscles, or you are doing something with your arms, laying positions, because ultimately it will not change much of the visual appearance of your posture. Your posture can be only affected by challenging movements in the upright positions, which are mimicking the walking, because that's how our brain operates. We are not, as a human beings, walking on walls. We are not walking on walls. Could you agree to me? Our brain was designed to resist the gravity, and our brain was designed with the vestibular system. And there is very little vestibular system involvement when you are exercising on the floor, because your brain does not oppose to the gravity. Your brain does not engage all of these chains of muscles, because there is no resistance needed in the upright positions. So that's why you have to gradually progress further, and only when you will do these complex movements in the upright positions, only then you will see most of the significant impact on your walking and on your positions of your posture. But yet again, without these initial stages of the exercises, you cannot see the progress at all, because mostly they were designed to build new pathways in your brain regarding new way of musculature tension and new positions of your posture. Yet in the future, we will use what you have built in this initial stage, and we will apply these new pathways in more complex techniques and approaches. So that's how we can rebuild your posture. So as you can see, it starts right here. Here is evaluation. Usually when I'm working with my clients, whether it's online or in the office, I'm prescribing firstly the test program. The test program meant to just to test your muscles, whether you are able to feel them or not. After 1 week, I will do the readjustment and I will prescribe to you another protocol, but more comprehensive one, because it will consist of postural habits, additional tasks, walking modifications, and shoes recommendations. And we will work on that protocol for another 2 weeks. In between 2 weeks, as I told you, you should visit your physical therapist and work with him. Or if we are doing that through the premium coaching, by the way, I just recently have started to do this premium coaching, then you can just click the link below this video and you can know all the information that you have to know. All of that structure we can recreate through the video online coaching. Now, after 2 weeks, you should visit your physical therapist and you should have a status check. You should be checked whether your posture has improved. The video of walking should be checked, checkups of your symptoms, complaints, and changes. So afterwards, another program could be prescribed for you, for your needs, but more difficult one, because as I told you here, it should have a progression. A progression table is necessary to challenge your central nervous system, basically your brain, to stimulate new positions of the pelvis, ribcage, femurs, ankles, etc., etc. So the more challenging the exercises are getting, the more time we have to spend on these exercises. So here is relatively still easy exercises to do. 2 weeks you are working with a physical therapist or you have Zoom calls. Then another status check. We're checking your posture, test, walking cycle, and finally you receive the third program, which is going to be even more harder to do. And now you're going to stick to it for 3 or even 4 weeks, depending on how well you're going to clear all the mistakes and how many of the compensations you will have. We will dive into that in a minute. So another status check, and then the cycle repeats itself until we are ending up with very severe, like challenging exercises in the upright position, standing position. So as you can see, we're slowly progressing from very primitive exercises to very difficult challenging exercises, which are mimicking the walking cycle that you have lost. And it will take like 3 at times 4 months, depending on the situation. Of course, I'm usually working with a severe chronic pain, which lasts for years, so it's not going to be faster than that. You will start to feel better within the first months, definitely, but usually to clear up all the symptoms, it will take 3 months. Now, another check mark here, yes, you can see, therapist guidance to avoid blind spots and compensations. So I have prepared for you 2 videos, one where I'm showing you the mistakes on very famous PRI exercises, and these mistakes, these are just pure protective mechanism of your brain, or just cheating a strategy, because your brain does not want you to change the position of the pelvis. And plus, I will show you my client from French who came to my office and we worked together, and you will see how his brain was challenged once I have finally given him a correct form of the exercise. Now, finally, clear instructions on timing and activities. You have to have clear instructions on timing and activities, meaning you should know when you should do the exercises, when you should rest, which type of activities you should avoid. All of that you should have in your protocol treatment, and all of that I am giving to my clients online or in the office. Now, the nature of progress, I should outline it here because you should know. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So the progress will be not linear, but rather you will feel a little bit better than when you 1 step back. And that's how it sometimes works. Now, breaking through the plateaus with quantum leaps, compound effect. So you are doing exercises without much changes, yet the therapist confirmed that you're doing everything perfectly. So after like 2 or 3 weeks of no results, just you will see or feel the explode of improvements. That's what we call quantum leaps. And finally, overcoming setbacks and flare-ups. It's not very common that you will feel setbacks, but it is part of the process. It is normal occasion. Now here, how long does it take to feel better, you may ask? It's a very interesting question. Here we have 2 instances, 2 clients. One got better after 31 days of therapy, not fully better, but enough to return to his sport activities. Another was struggling for 5 months, but was able to clear 95% of his sciatica that was caused by the disc herniation. Now, let me go over. The first one is a football player from Bulgaria. He presented himself with a lot of pain of both of the hip flexors area, basically iliopsoas on both sides. And plus, as you can see, was a left buttock area and the right one. So I started to work with him, and we barely went through the first 3 protocols, like here. We barely scratched the surface. And just roughly after 1 month, he told me that he felt significant improvements. Just listen up to his audio message.
By the way, in my rest days, I try to play a little bit football, so I feel better, so much better.
So as you can clearly hear, he improved a lot, and right after that, he bailed out, he escaped from the therapy, and he started to playing his sport, soccer, football again, because ultimately he is a football player, professional football player from Bulgaria, yes? So he never went back to the therapy. I asked him many months later how he was feeling, and he told me that the result is still there, but he still feels some pain. So for him, in order to fully clear the pain, he should go through all of the steps that I have outlined here. Okay? Because his walking cycle did not change that much, just enough to play soccer, football without pain. So on the contrary, the case number 2, guy went through the 5 months of the therapy and he was 95% better after that therapy. So initially he presented himself with a pain in the left buttock, in the lower back, and he was struggling and suffering on this pain for 5 years. So can you imagine how much doctors, how much therapists, how much chiropractors he went through without much of the success? And after 5 months, he reported that he felt just 95% relief from his sciatica. So this is enormous improvement in my humble opinion. So this is how the structure looks like. Now you know everything about it. I think you have gained some clarity. Now let me go over to the blind spot section and missing details in the exercises. Basically, this is the most important section because without proper technique, you will not going to progress and learn new things. And your body will definitely protest against that. So basically, when it comes to postural restoration, is highly dependable onto the small details. Your brain will use all sorts of tricks and cheating tactics. Why? Because the system does not like changes. So we as a therapist should seek and find these blind spots and errors and mistakes and fix and correct them. So let me show you right now on 2 instances how the body will try to cheat on you. Right now, at first I will show you on my own, and the second is going to be my clients. So as you can see, this is a fairly popular technique from PRI, which meant to develop the function of the right leg abduction, which is responsible of the phase of walking when you are pushing from the ground and shifting over towards the left leg. Now, it looks superficially like you can nail it properly without any help. However, your body will cheat on you on many occasions. Let me show you. The first typical mistake is when you are trying basically to bend over with your trunk. The reason being is because you want to make the leverage more easier. If you will do so like this, you will set your right hip into the position of flexion compared to your upper body. And our entire goal here is to actually avoid hip flexion here in this specific movement. Another good one is excessive external rotation of the right leg. It also happens not consciously, you're not aware of that. And what you have to do, if I'm going to be a therapist, I'm going to say, listen up, you have to do the internal rotation more, and please keep in your mind all the previous details. Otherwise, you are not going to program proper pelvis position and gluteus medius activation. Another mistake is holding on your right leg, right femur in the flexed position. You cannot imagine. While I'm teaching them the right form of the exercises, and the person is lying to the table and seemingly trying to replicate the movement, and he says, yeah, I feel it. I think I'm doing it properly. But from the side, it looks like that. The right hip is flexing forward because overall tone of the right hip flexors are so great that the person cannot even feel that. So in order for that to prevent from happening, I would do 2 different exercises before this specific technique to inhibit right hip flexors. And afterwards, you will see magic happens, because that's how you can fix this technique. At times, there is the opposite mistake. Let's say I'm saying to my patient, please extend the hip backwards, and he or she will try to over-arch the lower back or overextend their leg by using the glute max, while the patient has to extend leg only with the help of hamstrings. So it's a separate task, a separate skill to learn. Otherwise, you won't code or program new postural behavior. Lastly, many times when the lower body cannot complete certain movements, you will try to grab with your arms to something just to generate additional force and power from the upper body, which is another form of compensation that we should avoid with all the lower body exercises. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, just one simple exercise. Can you imagine how many mistakes you can make in other movements, which require a supervision, which requires you working with a therapist? So let me go over to another video. This is my client. He came from France and he was working on his own, and he was doing the same technique already for many months. As soon as he started to do that in the office, I noticed that he was doing a lot of compensations. So what I did, I fixed these compensations.
More. There you go. Don't lean to yes. Yes, you are shaking. That's it. Go. Few details to change, and instantly you see the shakiness. Your body is shaking because it's not usual.
Yeah.
Go further. More flexion there. More. More. Hold it. Release it. Now exhalation upon flexion. The left hip is slightly higher than the right one. That's it. It's so unusual.
I changed a little bit the position of the right foot. I flexed the right knee even more. I changed and shift his entire pelvis and lower back to the left. And look what happened. He is trembling right now. He cannot maintain that pose. He cannot do that exercise properly. His brain thinks it's something new. He never experienced that before, which is a very good sign. However, you can say that he was doing many months on his own, bunch of mistakes. But he was pre-assuming that everything is going well. Can you see the shakiness, the tremble? There you go. There is no proper control over this motion. So that's how blind spots look like. That's why you have to have a therapist on your side who will be able to see and fix these mistakes. Just wanted to say a few words about the third pillar of the PRI therapy, which is a postural habits from PRI. And you should definitely stick to these habits, because without habits, you have big chance of collapsing backwards into your patterns, into your asymmetries. So I can prescribe you the very best exercises in the world, but if you are not going to change the way you are sitting, the way you are standing with a sway back posture, nothing will change. Many times I could tell that people are just ignoring these habits or they are misinterpreting them. Many times I have to spend few sessions to teach the person how to stand properly. Now, besides basic habits that I have already mentioned there, we could also include some of the modifications of walk, how you should position your arms when you are sitting in the car or by the desk, and so on and so forth. So here we have left with two more check marks. First is over-focusing on vision, asymmetry, jaw, feet. I think I have already mentioned that. We are using and applying effectively these principles of jaw, vision, and feet to 20% of our patients and clients. Just because you have some problems with the vision does not mean that your pain generator is your vision. Just because you have malocclusion does not mean that you have to change it. Many times people have these problems without any pain whatsoever. So, as I told you, only 20% of the clients requires for their pain relief to have these interventions. Many times you can achieve great results on your own just by introducing postural behavioral changes. And lastly, you have underlying injuries and issues such as undiagnosed tumors, huge lower back stenosis, problems with your joints, which requires actually a surgical intervention. It's like maybe 5% of the cases, yet still they are present and they are there. So these are all mistakes and all conceptions from PRI, and that's how the entire protocol should look like. So if you are missing at least one step of the way, that's why you're not successful with implementing the PRI.
Ultimately, I would say, number one reason of you not going well through the PRI is because you're trying to help yourself on your own. And no matter how much exercises I will show to you, you will still have your blind spots regarding your self-evaluation, exercising, postural habits, fit, vision, jaw, etc. So if you are seeking for professional help, click the link below and we can arrange the Zoom call, we can arrange the premium coaching where I will lead you from A to Z, the entire process of physical therapy at home, and we will achieve great results. I will see you in another video. Thank you.